I'd like to introduce Ciara from Scotland, who has primary progressive MS. Welcome, Ciara.
Hello, Linda.
Could you tell us when you first started getting MS symptoms?
Probably, on hindsight now, it probably would have been 2005. I'd started getting numbness in my feet. And I went to the doctor at the time. But at that time, I'd also stopped smoking, and I was on patches. And I can remember going to my doctor and saying about the numbness in the feet, and he says, well, it's very strange that you have this symptom, and he'd never heard of patches, given somebody a symptom like that before, but it could be possible. So I just sort of lived with it, and then probably about a couple of years later, I'd sort of hurt my shoulder, and I'd mentioned to the doctor at the same time about numbness in my legs, and he was able to help me with my shoulder, but sort of give a blank look about my legs. And basically last summer, I started tripping up quite a lot. I was really, really tired and that, and I went to the doctor and said, listen, this numbness is getting worse in my legs or whatever, there's something just not right. And he had me do just some exercises, and he says, oh, there's something not right here, you have to see a neurologist. And I've sort of been in a neurologist since then, basically.
So when were you diagnosed with MS?
I went for a scan at the end of November, MRI scan, and then finally was called back to the neurologist at the end of January. And the neurologist said, about some lesions, and, you do have MS. And then I'd got a call from a new neurologist, because that neurologist had left where I stayed in. And I went to him, and he says, well, with your history and everything, you have got primary progressive MS. So that's been about it, really.
And how did that affect you emotionally, being told that?
Oh, well, obviously, I was getting used to the idea of having the MS. And really, with him saying that, I didn't really feel anything, but I did feel something when I asked him for what I could take for it, and he said that there was no scientifically backed medicine or treatment that would help my type of MS. I fell apart after that, really.
It's difficult to take in, isn't it? Especially when you're newly diagnosed. Yes. I think it was more the not having anything for it, but that really just ripped me up, Yes.
I had known it myself anyway. I had mentioned LDN to him, and he says to me, you can spend your money on whatever you want, but that is a cheaper one. That is what he said.
So how did you find LDN?
Well, basically, I'd say from about last summer, I started suspecting, that it could be sort of MS. Just with, the symptoms, and having the internet, available, anyone can sort of, have a good look into these sort of things. I'm on Facebook, and I had a childhood friend, Marianne Bradley.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I could see through other friends or whatever, she was sort of putting up when she would be on this blog radio and stuff like that. So I'd started listening into Mary's blog radio discussions, and also, looking up YouTube and that for her various talks. So I had a good idea, well, if it was MS, this is what I would be wanting to try or to have, or to give it a go.
Yep. So did you find a doctor to prescribe it for you? Did your own doctor prescribe it, or did you have to get it privately?
Well, as I said, the neurologist wasn't, he wasn't doing it for me. So I went to my own doctor, and, I, obviously explained in that, what my neurologist had said, that was nothing for me. And I said to him about LDN, and I went down with the fact sheet, and I said, listen, I'm going to leave this with you. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time. I said, but please do read it. I want to give it a go. I said, it's worth trying for myself and my family's sake, anything that may help. And I left it with him, went back in 2 weeks, and he said, yes, he says, I'll write you a prescription for it. He had read, obviously, the notes. And he says, I'm behind you all the way.
Oh, that was very nice. So did you notice any initial side effects when you started?
No, I didn't. Obviously, a good side effect was I was sleeping great, and before I was on the LDN, I was up maybe 3 times to the toilet during the night.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like having a great sleep, but I'd started muscle spasm tablets, Valcolfen, I think it's called, about 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I feel that I have been waking up to go to the toilet, but just once. You know, I'm not back to the 3 times. But I could say that since I started taking them, that I started needing the toilet again during the night.
Oh dear.
Anti-spasm tablets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, have you noticed any plus points in taking LDN other than the bladder?
No, because it was obviously that I wasn't needing, so I was getting a lot better sleep. I haven't, no.
How long have you been taking LDN now?
Well, I've been taking LDN, let me see, since about the start of April.
Okay, the start of April. So we're only about a month in, would you say?
Yeah, about, I'd say maybe 5 weeks.
5 weeks, yeah. Well, for it to have worked in on your bladder in that 5 weeks, it's obviously doing something for you, and I would have hoped in the next few months you'll notice even more improvements, especially with fatigue. I mean, have you noticed anything?
Well, actually, sorry, talk about fatigue. Yes, I have noticed I am actually not as tired as I was when you mention it. Because I had been but then again, I haven't been to work I had a week's holiday, then I was off. I've been off, this is my 4th week off. Before that, I had been sitting on the couch and just falling asleep. Mm-hmm. And also been really, really tired at work.
Yes.
But I haven't been sitting on the couch off late and falling asleep.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it would be quite a good idea for me to call you again in July and do a follow-up and check if you've noticed any other improvements, because as I say, it's still very early days, and people normally notice something sort of around the 4-month mark. People notice things, but I mean, if you've noticed the bladder and possibly fatigue already, you know, there's a good chance that you're going to notice other things later on as well. Yeah, so I'm sticking with the LDN because at the moment I haven't got nothing to lose. Yeah. By taking it, it's not doing me any harm. So I feel, you know, that in the hope that it might stop or slow down progression, I will be carrying on taking it. About it. And I have been going up and down with the doses too, just trying to find that right dose. But I'm definitely not going to give up on it. Yeah. Well, as I say, I think if we do an update in July, and hopefully, you know, you're going to have more to tell us then, that would be really good. Yes, well, I will definitely. That'll be great. Yeah. I'll happily give you an update in July. Lovely. That was